Okay, so welcome to another installment of Kohm's Teeny Tiny Town. So as you can see, I've got a few things put together on the layout. So basically, so far the layout consists of a piece of plywood. The plywood is actually half inch, oh no, pardon me, 1/4 inch. It's a nice sanded Canadian poplar, I think, finished plywood. So it's got a nice sanded smooth finish. And then what I've done is I've kind of just built a small cavity underneath using 1x2s. And as you can see, the weight is sagging just a little bit here, so I may need to reinforce with a few more pieces. So what I've done here, I just sort of temporarily have the sheet clamped down to a makeshift table. And all I've really done is I've reclaimed a small piece of my rather cluttered workshop. So over here, my workbench where I work on various small electronic repair projects is over there. And then what I've done is I've just kind of, in a really kind of a makeshift way, as a COVID craft, I've built a little bit of a table. And on that table, I have this sheet of plywood. So the vision is, what I've done now is I've pulled it out away from the wall so I can get in and work on the back. I have it temporary clamped into place here. I'll put a few more reinforcing cross under pieces, the 1x2s, to give it a little bit more support. And then the cavity between the plywood sheet and the tabletop provides enough clearance that I can run basic wiring and things like that. So if I was to build something a little bit more elaborate, and on a next try, of course, I would probably want to have a much larger space underneath the table where you could conceal larger things like switch motors and things like that. But this is going to be a fairly basic layout. So as you can see, I've already begun to kind of just place a few of the things here. So what you can see here is I've got a Burlington Northern diesel locomotive and some various assorted cars, most likely, Lifelike, Tyco, the kind of brand of model trains that I would have had in the early to mid 1980s. So as you can see, I've begun by laying down a cork road bed here. So as you can see, I haven't laid the track on the inner leg of the loop here, but I have laid the track on the outer leg, right? And I've got a sort of a temporary point where I've wired up the DC electricity. And over here, I've got the leads to a couple of switches. So over on the backside, you can see there's actually 3 switches here, 2 Atlas turnouts here, which are, the wires are here. And then at the end, I've got a Pico curved turnout. I've got the motor installed and the wires are tucked underneath. I'll have to extend those wires a little bit out over here, and I'll construct a bit of a panel over here. This is the transformer. This is what powers the layout. So you've got DC power running to the tracks, and then a couple of terminals for AC power, which would power the turnout switches, any other sort of lights and accessories that would run on AC. So the next, obviously, there's a little bit more track laying to be done here. So I've got a turnout here and a turnout over here, and I'm gonna join that using, I'll have to use 2 pieces of flex track, which I will cut to fit and solder in place. And then over here, I just temporarily, I have another turnout, and I've just kind of placed made a little bit of a makeshift scene here with a dock crane and a crawler crane and a little bit of a platform for trucks offloading onto cars and things like that. But ultimately, this siding here will probably go to a more extensive train yard where I'll build a shop building and some sidings for track, for storing cars on track and so forth. So over here, I've got, again, a double sort of a siding here. I have 2 curved Pico switches here. The beauty of this is that the 2 Pico switches allow me to switch the power on and off to the siding. So I could park a locomotive on this siding here, turn the turnouts to the outer loop, and then that train will stay in place. And then ultimately what I'd like to do is add another curved turnout here and a track that kind of goes and runs off to the edge of the layout here at this corner. And that would be a spot for future expansion. If I wanted to expand the layout, I would have a natural connection heading off to the side of that wood factory industrial building. Now, as you can see, it's kind of a large open blank slate for the most part in the middle of the curve here. So my vision is to build a bit of an urban scene toward that end of the layout. So I've reclaimed a few of my old buildings, and again, whether or not these stay is an open question. So there's a sort of a downtown hotel building, a sort of a police station building, and then a couple of odd assorted structures here. So whether or not these structures stay to be part of the layout is a bit of an open question. And probably I will design a bit of a small urban scene with a road, or perhaps an intersection and maybe a couple of roads. If I can find a way to make a small inner sort of circular loop in the middle here with track, I may even be able to incorporate small trolleys. I have a number of small HO scale trolley cars, and I'm just going to swing around here. So over here, this is a Tyco, very inexpensive and very small trolley car, which can run on a very tight curve. So obviously, big freight trains won't run around in a circle with tight corners, but a small trolley could potentially run in a kind of a circular fashion around the inner part here. So all of this is fairly ambitious in a 4x6 layout, which is on the small side. But again, all of this is a bit of a first foray into modeling. And hopefully over the next few weeks, I have a bit of holidays coming up ahead. We'll see the layout grow, and some of these buildings may be moved out. Some may become more permanently situated with landscaping materials, trees, grass, shrubs, and other kinds of features. I think I already mentioned trees. Just want to emphasize trees, I guess. So yeah, with that, we will see if we can pull the train out of the station, and this will bring us to the end of Kohm's teeny tiny town. Thanks everybody for watching.